So we got the Boss manifold up on the bench, and we need to make this little map sensor bracket fit onto the back of the intake manifold. I guess some people just drill a hole and run a self-tapping screw into the back. My buddy Gary John suggested getting a piece of 3/8 aluminum and epoxy gluing it onto the back, so the rubber seal around the O-ring around this map sensor sits a little better than just directly into the plastic. People are doing it into the plastic, and I guess it works, but I just like to add that extra bit of insurance on there. So what I've done with this bracket, drilled that 3/8 piece of aluminum with a 1/2 inch hole for the sensor to poke through, tapped it for a screw to hold it, but also drilled it and countersunk so I can epoxy this piece onto the manifold and also have it screwed to the manifold, so even if the epoxy lets go, it's not going to fall off. I'm not going to lose it. I mean, I wouldn't lose it because it'd just be dangling there on the wires anyway if it did fall off, but I'd have a big hole in my manifold, so just a little extra insurance for myself. So I need to grind down this rib on the manifold and set that there, and let's get her started. Here's that same intake with that rib taken off. Used a die grinder here with an aggressive, almost like an end mill. Takes the plastic off nicely, sanded it with some emery cloth, and this is that adapter without the map sensor on it, so some countersunk screws there. That's going to get glued on pretty much right there. I'll glue it, and then I'm going to drill my holes after the epoxy sets and hardens up, and that way, so I'll drill, get back here, I'll drill that hole. That's a 1/2 inch hole. I'll probably drill it a tad smaller on the intake manifold. Then I'll drill these two holes and tap them for the 1024 screw that goes in. Just to hold that piece of the manifold for a little extra insurance. What I'm using here is Permatex 5-minute epoxy. Never used it before. We'll see how she goes. Metals, hard plastics, ceramics, glass, rubber, and more. So here she is. Set this up, leaning against the toolbox. Yeah, it's messy right now. That's fine. We'll take care of that. The back of this little adapter has been sanded with 80 grit on the belt sander, just to give it a little teeth to adhere to. But yeah, once that cures up, I'll drill, well, I'm going to have to drill and tap this hole again because it's full of epoxy. I'll drill these ones out as well, all the way through with the proper size for a 1024 screw. I'll drill this out to probably 31/64, a little smaller than a 1/2 inch, and we'll see what happens from there. And here you have it the next day after all the epoxy is dried up and cured. I had to drill out these holes just to get the epoxy out of it. Had to drill this one out and retap it, get the epoxy out of it. Same with that. Well, that one had to be drilled right through to, like a 64th smaller than a 1/2 inch, so 31/64. Drilled and tapped these holes into the manifold itself for 1024 screws. So this one here and this one here. Put thread sealer on there so it's not sucking or blowing any air out of there under atmosphere, under vacuum, or under boost. So now that fits in there, and that screw goes in. And the next test will be will that clear my firewall once this thing's actually all installed? And I believe it will. I hope it will. We'll figure that out when we get there. Otherwise, I'll have to plug all those holes back up again, knock that thing off, and I'll have to go over to the side here and extend some wires on the harness. Not a big deal, but that was made for where that sat, and I'll just have to make another block for where this sits. Next order of business on this Boss manifold will be porting. I've done a couple of 2018 Mustang GT manifolds. You get rid of these fins and clean all that stuff up, just smooth everything out. And then you come down to here, and they're actually really kind of gross for being their performance manifold. I don't know if you'd call them casting marks or what on these, but you can get rid of all that, not rough surface, but irregularities. Clean them up, smooth them out, and even behind this injector boss, there's a giant friggin', see if I can turn my light on here. There we are. I don't know if that's any better. There we go. Get rid of the little flashlight. So, yeah, get into there, clean up all that garbage. Get rid of sharp edges. And right here, they've got a giant boss that's, you can smooth that out and pick up a bunch of CFM out of that. Same with this. I don't know why they do it, but I'm sure somebody smarter than me knows. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to smooth all this stuff out, make it match better, clean up the port here especially, and you pick up some CFM, pick up some horsepower that way. But yeah, that'll be the next order of business on this Boss manifold. 10 minutes of work, and all these fins are gone. Just chop them off with a side cutter, and then blend them smooth with a carbide bit. It's a big old egg-shaped carbide bit for aluminum actually, but works very nice on plastics. So you can see this lip here and all these irregularities, roughness. Well, we're going to smooth all that out the best we can and make this thing pick up CFM. Like, that's going to cause a swirl on the back side of that. You lose airflow. That's how that works. So yeah, we're going to clean that up, and then we'll move on to the intake runners, and I'll record some more video of that. Again, a couple more minutes here with that carbide burr on the grinder there, and you can get rid of that ledge there. You can still see where it's molded there, but it's not a big old ledge. I'm gonna round these edges a little bit better, make them a little smoother flowing, a bigger radius, and I'll get in there as far as I can with that long reach carbide, but that's only going to be, you know, 4 inches in or so. And then we'll get on to these. That's pretty much it there with the intake opening. I'll probably go over it a little bit more with let's come on focus. Let's see if we can get in there and focus with a little smaller diameter cutting burr, just to get rid of some of this little shit that's floating there. I didn't take any out of the diameter of the intake. I mean, maybe a couple thou due to just cleaning it up, but more so just to get the same surface finish all the way. And yeah, same with that. I'll hit that again with hit that with a smaller diameter burr, clean it up a little bit, maybe some of the cartridge rolls, but I'm not going to make this super smooth. You're not going to net anything with a polished finish versus a little rougher finish. So I mean, I'm probably half hour, an hour into this whole unit here as of now. I'm going to touch it up a little bit, but onto the intake runners. After a little bit of time with the grinder, and at this point here, streamline this hump in here, blend that out, smooth that out as well. So I'll get them all to about this shape. I mean, compared to that, which you can see there's a big old shadow behind that hump. That is not a shadow. That's just where the carbide couldn't reach there on the back side. Just like side to side there. So I'll get a smaller carbide once I get all of them to about that shape. This is much smoother, that ridge there and that there, compared to what goes on in here. Can't really get all the way up there. Oh, come on, focus. There we are. Can't really get all the way up there, but there we are. We can get a good ways up and clean up the port entry at least, and make her flow a little bit better. So I'll also do a little bit on the short side there. Not a whole lot. I've scribed a line. There we are. I've scribed a line across the whole thing. Kind of hard to see. So that's where I want to go on there. And just blend everything. Like, they may have done this for swirl purposes or tumble or what, I don't know. But I'm going to undo it, and maybe I'm undoing it incorrectly, but this is what I'm doing. And there we go. That's pretty much it. Maybe a little bit of cleanup and deburring on some pieces. Yeah, let's see if we can get in there. Focus. Yeah, couple of little chunks of poop floating around there. We'll blow her out, clean her up, and try and get rid of anything that's hanging around. But that's about it. An afternoon's worth of playing around and plastic grinding. And there's my ported Boss 302 intake manifold.